So I am going to go ahead and jump back into this Mikey on here, and we're going to continue shading. Let me remember where we were. All right, we're back into Mikey now. And what we're going to do is we are going to start doing some more shades. Can you say shades? I've had a little tiny burp. Just a tiny burp. All right, so we'll get in here. Nice and white. We're on our shades layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into where we left off on the last class, and we're going to finish shading Mikey tonight. Maybe change around a couple of the colors. And then, oh darn it, we didn't fill in this shale. Oh, shale. We didn't finish the shale. Let's go ahead and fill these in. So like I said, you can't see the, you can't see whenever I right click, like right here, I've got a window that's opened up. But if you're doing Photoshop at the same time, you'll right click and then hit fill path, and another window will pop up that will say contents, foreground color, blending, whatever you want that to be. I just have it on normal. The opacity is 100%, and I'm going to change the feather radius to 1. So we're going to do that. That's going to fill that in. It's got a little bit of a fuzz to it instead of a hard edge. And then what I need to do is continue filling in the colors on this shell. And I can see that probably needs just a little bit of filling right there. That's going to go to that. And I've got my smoothing all the way up. That's on my shades layer. Okay, there we go. All right, filled that in. Go up here. We're going to probably need to put in an extra little line there. So I'm gonna change this just slightly. I need to make this a little fatter. I think I drew this bottom part of the shell earlier, and I'm going to make that be just this. Well, we're gonna have to make sure that that goes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make a little addition here, and we're going to continue down this frame edge part of the shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a little bit part right there. I think maybe we'll just do this. We're just going to do one of these. We're going to say that shell goes in. Then we're going to fill that in, and then we're going to fill the shell part in for the back here. Okay. And then once we get into our shades layer again, we can fill that in, because that is technically going to be not necessarily right behind him, but we don't need to highlight that spot too much. And we want that to blend in with the part of the shell that is, hit D. We're going to fill in the part of the shell that is shade down here, because if you think about it, the turtle's shell has the front, it has an opening up here for the shoulders and the head. So if he was a normal turtle, he could suck his head into his shell, which, do they ever do that? Yeah, I mean, they do that in the movie, but I don't think I ever see them do that in books. But that's always, it's like, why not? If you're going to have turtles, let them have the advantage of a turtle and let them suck their bodies into their stuff. I always thought that would be cool if they would do that in the movies, but they never did that. In that Michael Bay movie, the fun scenes in that movie are the action scenes. They are fun. The turtles were just ugly. And what they could have done is have them be in their shells, but they could suck their body parts into the shell, and you could see like their shells spinning. Remember in Ninja Turtles: The Manhattan Project when you're fighting Slash and he sucks his limbs into his body and then he spins around on the in the boss fight with him he's in a turtle shell? Why not? Use that to the advantage creatively. So what the turtles have is they've got space for their neck and their shoulders, and they connect Surf Ninjas, and it connects here on by their ribs, kind of like a belt, works as a speedo that connects underneath their crotchal region. If you look at old Ninja Turtle comic books, you can actually see they usually put a tail down here, but it's a little strange looking if you try and do that now. So we're going to avoid that and kind of keep this more traditional cartoon style. What we are going to jump back into is filling in a bit more of our first, this is really our first layer of shades to the body of Mikey here. So like I've said before, you're not going to see my right click windows whenever I'm using them, but whenever you right click while using the pen tool, you can actually use these filled in shapes to, we're going to give them a little bit of a head shape here, which we're going to have to continue over there, but we're going to give, what was I saying? We're going to give the Mikey his basic shades for this piece. I hate calling them pieces, but that's what you call it. We're just going to make this a full-fledged, we're just going to call this a full-fledged poster. When we get done, opacity, that needs to be 100. Sorry. All right, so what we need to do here is Mikey's here. He's a little hunched over, so you're not going to see down here past these neck muscles, and we're going to have to put a little bit of shade. We're going to keep this a little bit lighter there, like it's got kind of a reflected light on it. And we're going to fill that in. We're going to give him a little bit of a shadow cast by his head, and we're going to leave a little bit of that out there so we don't have it be completely flat. Again, we're going to right click, unselect that, because then if we do, we'll have a subpath to fill in. So that's looking okay. This looks a little strange without that being completely full. So I'm going to fill that in there. Okay, so we got a little bit of that. Now we've got a little bit, now we can tell that the head is, we can show you there. So you can see the shades are off, shades are on. Now we're getting a little bit more of a feel that his head is out over this. Now we can put in some more dark colors in here once we get our basic layer of main shades in here to give it kind of a, I like a cell shaded look. I think I decided I like doing a lot of my artwork this way after watching, I watched a lot of cartoons, and then I figured out while I'm a big fan of the Street Fighter comics and the Street Fighter the animated movie, and also after watching Afro Samurai on Cartoon Network, which is very strange but a lot of fun, and it's kind of a, I don't know if it was an American produced anime, but I'm not a huge anime guy. But after seeing Udon comics and some of the artists that they use on Street Fighter books, and kind of looking at how they colored and shaded on the old 2D alpha games like and Street Fighter 3 video games, like they have one shade, they have the color of the character, then they have one variation of that color that's the shade, and maybe a few highlights and things in parts of the body that really tend to reflect, like hair, eyes, certain kinds of clothing. Things that reflect will have a highlight on them, but never really like cloth and stuff like that. That's not supposed to be shiny. So with these turtles, there's not too many shiny parts. We could make their shells or their skin a little shinier. And we may end up doing that. We may end up putting some small white highlights or boosting the saturation or the vibrance of Mikey's highlights on his skin. We'll see what that looks like when we get close to throwing in some highlights. But for right now, we're going to finish up his shading, and then we'll see where we go from there. I may start in on some of the scenery, or maybe do one of the turtles in the background. I don't know if I want to jump back into the other turtles and make them pencil drawings. I may just go straight from here and, you know, just ink them how they are, because I don't think there's going to be too much to them. I think these foot soldiers that I've got in the background are going to be mostly just, you know, kind of glowing eyes, and then we'll get something on the shredder armor. For down here, legs are kind of tricky, so we can keep these pretty simplistic. I think I said in the monster series that I did that sometimes it's good to make legs pretty simple, because they can get goofy looking or have too many variations if you put too much on there. But sometimes you can have a happy accident and you can put just the right amount of shades on legs. I have a hard time shading in legs sometimes. So on the turtles, it looks pretty good. Either way, if you want to put a lot of details and leg muscles and stuff, then you can do that. Like on the monster, you can be pretty lenient whenever it comes to drawing the Ninja Turtles, because like I said in previous videos, that the benefit of how the turtles are designed, especially when you're drawing them, is that their joints, their wrists like this, their torsos, their necks, faces, if you can make them if you can make their faces look good to you, then the rest of it's easy, because their joints are covered. They have 3 fingers, so their hands are always going to look odd, but they're going to look like, if you're familiar with the turtles, then I don't have the chat on, but you can leave comments if y'all want. Where was I? Yeah, the turtles are covered in just the right spots. And you know, this may have been something that Laird and Eastman came up with so that they could make the characters drawn faster. They may have just been a fan of throwing pads on their characters. Who knows? This kind of looks like it's dipped. So I'm going to just put some shade on there, and let's see what that looks like. Right click, fill path, enter. That's probably okay. Gives that finger a sense that it is in the shade. Yeah, this is okay. Good. Okay. So that's not bad. That looks like that finger's got a little bit of a bend to it. Let's get up here on this other arm. This arm here can have a bend. And that's also got to go back there. So what we can do here is put a slight bit of a curve on that shade. We're not going to have too much of this arm highlighted because it's kind of supposed to be tucked back in here behind the rest of his body. But we'll give a couple little small reflective highlights. So we're going to probably put a little bit right there. We'll see how that looks. If we need to put more shade there, we can. Some there. All right, that's gonna be good for around here. All right, so we're gonna fill in all of those. Cool, there you go. Probably put a little bit of a highlight right there. Cut that out. Good, good. There's a little bump on the palm there. Okay, let's get down in here. This belly area, or the torso, might be a little more detailed. What we can do is get around here and all right, I'm gonna go ahead and fill all this crotchal region in. If you're just tuning in, we're working on the crotchal region. Very flattering in the crotchal region. It's the pleats. Okay. Down here. Just a small highlight on the bottom of the shell. Fill in all that area. There we go. All right, a little bit of a leg. I think what I'm going to do, though, is not show too much of this leg's highlights. We got that. That's a little bit better. Fill in this area. So, by the way, got a bug in here. I'm going to let everybody know that I am a big supporter of Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith's podcasts. And I just want everybody to know that they are underrated. They're extremely underrated. And you know what? I really consider Kevin to be the founder of podcasting. I know that Adam Carolla that did the first official kind of podcast. Anyway, through the history of it all, I know that Kevin has had some bites in the news recently. But I just wanted to shout out him and Ralph and Eddie and Mark and Andy McElfresh and Scott Mosier and Jason Muse. Everybody that does podcasts with Kevin, I am seriously considering getting a ticket for that cruise askew. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know if any of my buddies or my wife would like to go do that. She does listen to Ralph occasionally, but I think Ralph Garman is one of the funniest people I've discovered in the past 10 years of my life. If you're not listening to the Ralph Report, I think you can get free episodes every week. But it's a daily podcast, and it's an hour long, and him and Eddie Pence do so much material. It's nuts. It's so nuts, and it's so funny, and it's only, at a minimum, it's 15 cents a day. I get content, and I can save up episodes. I'm 3 episodes behind. I didn't listen to Fridays, yesterday's, or today's. So tomorrow I've got well over 3 hours of content that I get to listen to, and he's hilarious. So look up the Ralph Report. If you haven't heard of the Ralph Report, find some episodes of Hollywood Babylon and watch that, because last weekend's, this is another podcast he does. If you're not aware of it, be aware of it. It's so good. Anyway, just wanted to shout all those guys out, because even though this is a small show, watch the Ralph Report. It's so much fun. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Let's see. We're going that anyway. They just inspired me to do this. They inspired me to do this. They inspired me to do my books, make my t-shirts, make cooldojo.com. Kevin's going through some stuff right now, but they're some of my favorite pieces of entertainment ever. I love them. Anywho, back to this. So what I am still doing is putting in main shades on Mikey's body here. And down here, in this white shape down here, this is one splash, and we're going to remove these black outlines from this at some point when we get to the bottom scenery, which we may get to some of that tonight. We're pretty far on Mikey here. I don't know what else we really need to throw in on the shades. I might go ahead and eliminate some of this. I think that's probably too much on his body. It looks cool, but I don't think you need that much. It we might be able to consider some of this a reflection off the water, but we won't worry about that. We'll put in less shades. That's probably okay. This kind of highlight right here might be fine. I don't think we need too much on the foot. We need less on this foot. So we're going to fill in just some spots, one part of that tendon. I'm going to fill in most of this foot. We don't need to see all the highlights on the foot. Makes them look a little too reflective. So we'll do that. Fill this in, fill path. That's what you do. Right click, fill path. That's probably okay. I don't know. I think we're just going to have... Let's fill it all in. Forget it. We'll fill in the whole foot. If we want to put in some small highlights, then we'll cut them out of the shades. Let's do that. That foot went from nothing to too much. Oops. All right. So we've got some highlights on the toes. Let's minimize the amount of stuff we've got going here. Okay, that's probably pretty good. I'm going to put a little... I want to put a little highlight on that calf, but it's kind of supposed to be under here, so I may have to just put a second layer of shades on there. We could do one of these and put a little bit of a shade on Mikey's forehead. Does anybody like that? Here's what we can do. We can go up here. We can go to selection, and then we can take our gradient, hit G, hold shift, and go down. Maybe just a little gradient shading. No, I think I'll keep that off there for now. Yeah, it didn't look bad, did it? Well, we'll keep that off there for right now. Okay, I think what he may need, he needs a little bit of shade still on the nunchuck here. Let's see, he's got plenty there. This leg is starting to go back, so we're going to fill in more of the thigh here. Okay, there's more of that filled in. That looks good. I'm gonna get a little bit heavier on the shades. A little heavier. Fill that in. Looks a little bit better. Now we're going to have to, since we've got a lot of shade there, let's put some more on the knee pads. We don't need to see all this on the knee pads. And I tell you what, we're going to do two small things here. I'm going to fill in more of that. I'm going to fill in a lot more of that. We're just going to have the edge of that knee there. Maybe a little bit of a, hey, what's happening out this way? And we're going to cut those, so we're going to select both of them and then cut them. See, it looks a little bit better. And that may be what I was kind of trying to lean towards over here, was just the smallest little highlight right there. Maybe that's better. Okay, we got some main shades on here. I am going to put a couple more in here. This doesn't need to be as bright as it is currently. Where did I put the end? Where is the end? Is it here? Nope. Is it here? Nope. Where are you? Where's the last shape? All the way over here? Goodness. All right, let's see. Fill that. Cool. Okay. That is not so bad. I am going to put in a little bit more on this bicep. Okay. A little cooler. This knee pad needs to be a bit darker. I'm going to put 2 small light source highlights on here. That one's going to be smaller. That's going to be smaller. Fill that in some. Okay. All right. Maybe a little much. Maybe we can knock these down to 25. And then we can put some darker shades on there whenever we're ready. So, yeah, Mikey looks pretty good. We need to darken up the shell. So I'm going to select these spots inside the shell. And we are going to just fill that in darker. And then we can go and... So we'll go in here, we'll do kind of the bottom part of this shell to give it a contour. Show a little bit of texture there. Not too much behind the head. I think that looks pretty good. Do we need to fill it in there? We already did, didn't we? All right, do that. Fill that path. Okay. All right, Mikey is starting to look pretty good. So we'll establish how bright Mikey's going to be right now. To go back to the pen. Oh, whoops. God dang it. Guys, I am so sorry. Anyway, what I was doing here is, so I've highlighted all of this stuff on Mikey. Sorry, I had the wrong camera on. So I highlighted all of this area with my pen tool. I went around up here on top of the head, got down here, got around on the nose, got around on this part of the knuckle, got around here on the shoulders, put a little bit of a highlight around the edge of his head. Well, a selection with the tool. A little bit back here, a little bit around the arms and down here, and then I've kind of made less big shapes, getting closer towards away from the top of the head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, you probably won't be able to see this, but I'm going to go to selection, and it's going to say make selection, and I'm going to hit 1 for the feather radius. Okay, you'll see that whenever you're doing this, and that's going to select everything. So I'm on my drawing layer. Okay, actually that looks kind of cool with all the shades being, or the pencil sketch being shaded. Look at that. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Shaded in our pencil sketch. Cool. I like that. That's neat. So we're on this layer, and we've got our selection. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Okay, so we've only got our highlighted spots there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename that layer highlights 01. Okay, we're going to turn our shades back on. We're going to go up to image and then adjustments, and you can't see this, and then go to exposure. Okay, and you still can't see this, but what I've got here is an exposure panel, and it is going to allow me to, I'm going to get real close on Mikey here on all of our shades. And we are going to, you can see, no, you can't see that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to up the exposure to give him just, we can go drastic, we can go just a little bit brighter. I'm not going to do too much like that. So what we've done is give just a tad. Okay. So we've given him just a little highlight. And we can even go to hue and saturation and saturate that a little bit more. We can go really bright green. We can just dull it a tad. We can change it a little more on the green side. That looks a little too bright. So we'll just put just a small highlight on there. So now you can see that we've got a little bit of a highlight on his nose. We've got some just here and there, not drastic. Just gives him a little bit of light. And then we can go in here in a little bit and make brighter highlights. So we've got kind of a brighter spot. I'm going to take this. I can even take this and we're going to merge it with our main layer. So that's going to be permanent now. And I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight right here on his calf using that same color. Okay, now he's got a little bit of a highlight right there on his thigh. Okay, might be unnecessary, but we'll keep that there. Okay, so now he's got his shades and his main highlights. Now we can go in, we can darken him a bit more too. So we can do this and we can make this its own layer of just shades. Go in here, make a second layer. We're going to call this shades dark. Okay, and we will go in here, and this is where we can put in tighter shades. We can go almost, I'm going to change this to a purple. You can see that a little bit. There you go. You can see that just a tad better. So we'll go in here, and these spots that are more like a crevice where you really shouldn't be able to see too much, we can go in here and we can tighten up some of this stuff. Little small gaps and crevices. So down here is an armpit. We're not going to see too much of that. Down here is maybe a little pit underneath his bicep. Down here is just maybe kind of a crease or a little dimple area. Down here we can kind of tighten up a little bit of these and give them some pulled tendons there. Not pulled, but flexed tendons. Give a little bit more there. This will fill in that little tiny spot we got there. Can fill in some of this. Just make these smaller spots a little tighter. We're going to definitely do it down here because we don't need all of that. We'll keep going here. We're back. All right, cool. There we go. So we're going to let that edge stay there. Maybe keep that one there. Okay. All right. All right, go this, like that. We're gonna have a bit more, we're gonna be a bit sharper with this shading technique. I'm gonna let that go down some. Go here, like this. And I'll keep that a little brighter. Darken that in because that's a little more on the, we're going to fill it, we're going to definitely darken in these spots around the crotchal region. Because that is where the sun don't shine. Especially down in the sewer. Sewage. It's poopy. All right, go down here. We are going to fill in lots of this. Make sure that's still not too close to the edge. All right, there we go. Get a little bit of that. Now this is going to be a tighter area. So we're going to fill in this spot here. And that is more area down here. This might not need to be that dark. I was kind of planning on maybe we can do it to 2 or 3 shades. So we can get that there. Down here, it's probably okay to get pretty close to your other shades because that's kind of just supposed to be around the other side. That's kind of showing through a little bit of his leg. Definitely got to put some down here. This is going to be the dark spot on the turtle. I keep wanting to say on the Ted. I've got Ted Lasso on my brain. So down here, that's where it's going to be black. Because down here, you're not going to be able to see anything. There's no point in putting something down there because it would just be, it's useless space if we want to make sure that the audience or the observer knows that that area is dark because it's behind too much stuff. I'm going to fill in that area just a tad more. And also here on this armpit, which will give that more of a tight feel. Now here we can get a little bit more. This part's going to be tough. We don't want it to make it, we don't want to make it look like he's got a beard. But we also don't want it to be too bright and not put a shade in there. I'm going to put a little bit right here on the mask. Put some here. Whoop, not too close to that. Okay. Better. Now here, now that we're back down here by this calf, we can fill in a bit more around the knee pad. You know why I'm thinking about Ted? It's because they're down in the sewer. It's Poopy. Get down here. Can make these pretty tight because these are just little small reflected areas. And this may not be a super dark shade. And we'll see how this turns out. We're gonna have to make some adjustments on that shin because we want it to be able to I'm gonna let that get bigger because I think here where the knee comes out, this part actually would go this way, so we'll get a bit more here. Get a little bit there. If it was brighter right here, I would put that tint right there, but it's not necessary. Okay. That's plenty just for the example right now. So what we'll do, that's a darker shade. Okay, whoops. So we'll right click, fill the path. Nope, that's gonna make it green. Hit D, then P, then right click, fill the path. There you go. Now that's pretty dark. So what we're gonna do, and also we can keep that like that for just a minute. I'm gonna let that part get a little highlight. Fill that path. Okay, that looks a little bit better, but what I need to do is we're going to put that at 50%. See what that does. Not quite where I want it to be. Just a little darker. Maybe we do go pretty dark. We can keep that at another 35. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good there. We can go lighter by clicking on opacity and dragging it just a tad. We can make it go all the way to 0. We can see what it looks like the darker we get it. That's at 100% black. Doesn't look bad. I kind of like it, but I'm going to knock it down to maybe 45. Let's put it at 35 because I don't need too much black on them yet. I may put another layer that would be black. But that looks pretty good. Now, we've got those. So we have 1, 2, technically 3 layers of shades and highlights. We can go in here. We can put a couple more in on the shell. What I'm going to do is go to there. I'm going to go to here and here on the dark. And we're going to have this shell be kind of loose. So I'm going to fill in some spots here just with my brush. And definitely want that to seem like it's curved. But yeah, then we'll go back here like that. Kind of like, what's going on in there, right? So if we go back here, then it looks like there's something back there, but maybe there's some reflections. Okay, and now this is our main. I'd like to put some kind of brighter spots here on the shoulder. Some up here, one up here on the head. And we'll make this another layer. Right here on the shoulder. Keep these pretty rounded. Not going to do one right there on the nose. Not going to do on that other neck muscle area. Some here and here and here. And maybe let's put it on the tricep. Okay. Just a couple. All right. And maybe one here on this. Let's brighten up this knee pad. So we can know that's out front, right? We can put one up here on the eyebrow. These are going, what I'm doing is I'm mapping out spots that I want to have a brighter highlight. So we can go here, go to selection, 0. And I think what we'll do is go and just put white here for right now. Okay, that makes him very, very reflective. Okay, that makes him super reflective. Okay, that makes him look very shiny. So what we can do here, let's see if this... Actually, I'm going to change this, and we're going to make this a... We're going to go to our RGB color spectrum, and we're going to go all the way to the yellow. Since he's a green, he's going to have some yellow bits in there. And then let's see what the overlay on that looks like. Okay, it's a little bit brighter, a little too much. Let's see what all these different blends do for that. So I'm looking through the blends and you can see these changing. I'm looking at a right-click menu here. They're putting more of it up. So we've got normal, and this is at 100% on that yellow. Darken, these are the burns, these are the lightens. Lighten, these are the bright color mixes. Bad hard mix, not too bad. What we could do, that luminosity looks pretty good, but let's take that down. There you go. Now he's got good reflections. I like that. So what we can do now, we'll leave that right there. And I'll zoom in on this. Whoops. No, I want you to zoom. Z. Okay. So those are pretty strong on the edges. So what we can do is we can go up to filter. Again, you can't see this. We can go here, go to Gaussian blur. Like, again, you're not going to be able to see this. And that kind of dissipates these just a tad to where they're a little fuzzier. I don't want them to be too fuzzy. Maybe I do. Yeah. So let's see. Takes that off, puts a little bit of a light on there. We're going to desaturate those. I'm going to see what they look like. I'm going to change those to maybe a no, that's at the overlay. So we're going to normalize those. This is, again, you're not going to be able to see this. Put too much green on there. Nah, we're just going to keep that like that. I'm going to fuzz this up just a tad. It's a little strong there. And I am going to change that to an overlay. So just a small little bit of highlight. Small highlight. And then now you can make one more layer. Go up here. And we are going to make some of this. Just give it a little tiny highlight. Little. I'm going to keep it maybe off. I don't think we need a white dot on his head. So we'll just try this. Just a couple. Okay. Change that there. I'm going to fill those in with a 2 of a feather. Maybe too much. Just a little reflective there. There we go. Cool. Maybe we can do a little bit of that up here on the Hade. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Just feather that enough. I don't like too much of that on there. Just a little hint. Just a hint. A little over here on this shoulder. We're gonna move that down just a little. Yeah, cool. He's getting there. He is getting there. We need to probably put a little bit of shade on. I am going to put those two together. And we're going to make a highlights there so we can see that's how much we've added to it. We could probably make those pads a little shinier. Or a little dullish. But we can turn off our shades. And even with the highlights there, which we flattened these highlights on the body, which doesn't look too bad. But we can take that, do this, and he looks a little bit brighter, add the shades, and it's even better, right? So we're pretty good. We're pretty good. I'm going to see what we can do with... We have our dark shades. We have our normal shades. I'm going to put just a little bit on here that we can... Maybe I'll make this another layer. Just a little. We can kind of emphasize the snout or beak, as Raph calls them. Okay. A little bit higher here. A little bit here for a temple. That probably doesn't need to be there. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. This will be one more shade layer for the face. We're going to go here. We're going to fill path. We're going to keep that at 2. Whoops, wrong color. Not too much. We're also going to keep the eyes pretty bright. That's okay. Just a tad. Yeah, I like that a little bit more. I'm going to round that out. There you go. Cool. Cool. Good, better, warmer, closer. A little bit on the chin. That much. Shoop. Nah, we'll keep that off. There you go. See? Now we got a little more curvature to his face. And we can kind of see that dimple on his face a little bit more, can't we? Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to put these highlights on his knee pad here. Just one here, one here. And we'll leave these kind of sharp. Sorry. Okay. Fill that path. Not too much? Yeah, maybe so. Okay, we'll leave that off for right now. All right, so we probably need to put a few little tiny highlights on the shell. I'm gonna make this not go too far back there. Give a little bit right here, little bit right there. Okay, just some, and probably just there. And the shell is going to have a few highlights. I know that whenever I see the shells in the movies, they have lots of white highlight reflections on them. But we're not doing that here yet. Just some small stuff. Small little highlights up here and sporadic enough because this shell, and we don't want to put too much behind the bandana. We can probably get a little closer, but I'm going to keep that where it is for right now. My contracts are drying out. Okay. I'm going to make these a new shade. Fill those in. Not too bright. Not too bright. Yeah, that looks better, but we're going to decrease that a lot. There you go. Just a few. Cool. Looking good. It's looking good. I think when we put the thumbnail out, I'm actually going to highlight more of Mikey in the foreground here. Yeah, I want people to be able to see it. Then we can kind of pull back. All right, I think that's what we're gonna do. Well, let's get a little, since we got that highlight layer there, we can go in on the chucks. Give that a little bit of a jazz there. A little bit of a jazz. Oh, we gotta fix this little highlight part right there. Right there, that's good. And I'll give this just a little bright spot there. Just a little, just a little. Do-si-do, do-si-do, do-si-do. Okay, cool. Yeah. And if we want to at some point, we can put a little brightness effect on the eyes if we wanted to. Bing, bing. Just a little brighten effect, but we don't have to. Nah, we won't worry about that. We could put it right here on the shell, though. Choop. Let's see what that looks like. That's kind of cool. This is pretty cool, I guess. We'll erase some of that. There you go. Just a little. Cool. I know that Chris has been wanting to get back in here. He's got an obsession with Street Fighter right now. So if your moms and dads want to watch some F This Game episodes, I think Chris is going to be on here at some point. He's got like a fan base. I don't know how you get a hold of it, but you can probably see the recorded version. If you haven't checked out his Mortal Kombat 2 video, he gets a little heated. Show him some support. F This Game. They're pretty fun to watch, just so you can know that you're not him. Let's see where we were. So we were close to here earlier, and we added our shades and we added our highlights. Bing, 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 bing. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, I think that looks really good. Let's see what it looks like without the color on there. Highlights, shades, and highlights. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Well, we'll keep that there for the thummy, but I think that's good for tonight. I think we can probably start inking the other turtles on the next episode. Anyway, in the meantime, cooldojo.com, tpublic.com/user/cooldojobro to get a sweet Surf Ninjas t-shirt. All right. Good night, everybody.